Right. First, my apologies in advance because I found out about this talk on Monday afternoon, so I'm not fully prepared. Talking about big data, actually, I came across big data when I was interested in intrusion detection systems, and this is the topic of my talk, based on a paper that I published a few years ago, and I'm still interested in this, and hopefully next month we'll be here to present another paper. Right, how many of you have done practical data mining? You know, hands-on, okay, good. So, by the way, I'm Shahrzad Zargari. I'm from Sheffield Hallam University, and I'm course leader for computer security forensics. Right.
You can't hear you. Sorry, just fill that line. That's it.
Okay, sorry. Right, so I'm going to just give you a bit of background about the topic and then take you through what the methodology and then what we found out about our experimental work. Right. Basically, there are two types of devices that you use in intrusion detection. So as the computer technology is growing, the security is becoming so much more important, and in order to automate the detection is really important. There are two types of devices that they be used for detection intrusions, is either intrusion detection systems or intrusion prevention systems, where prevention system is to stop the traffic. Intrusion detection system, they only alert the administrator. And as the traffic is going through, the logs are getting bigger and bigger, and the IT administrators are struggling with going through the traffic manually, the logs manually, to find out a possible threat. So how do ID systems work? They either use signature-based or anomaly-based. The signature-based is basically, you know the malware, you know the virus, you write a rule for it, and then as soon as that traffic related, that threat comes through, it stops it or alerts it. But with anomaly detection, with anomaly attacks, where is a day zero attack, where the attack hasn't happened before, then we don't know what to do. So what we can do is we use machine learning techniques in order to automate it. So there are some challenges in this. But the purpose is you want to find out about a subset of features that are important in order to increase your detection rate, as well as you minimize the false positives. This is basically the goal. And as well, you don't want to have many features, because then the dimensions get high, and then is the overhead of the device, or overhead, the calculation is become high. But what are the challenges? First of all, if you want to carry out research, it's really difficult to find data, particularly because in security, so nobody wants to share their data with you. The second thing is, what's the definition of the normal traffic? And normal traffic is different in each system. So what usually happens is usually you install the IDS and then you leave it to run for 2 weeks in order to learn about the traffic, what the normal traffic is for that network system, and then it starts learning and it starts working. So these are the challenges. When I wanted to do this, I came across Kdd Data Cup 1999. This was a part of the DARPA project in 1998, where the MIT Lincoln Lab set up an environment where they recorded 9 weeks TCP dumps data from in a way that it simulates a US Air Force traffic. So they just wanted to have a real data. So basically, they had like about 5 million connections. So they kept you keep 7. I don't know whether. Oh, okay. When you're working with the data mining, when you want to do this, you have to have a training data, and then you have to have a test data. The training data is where you use that in order to come up with a model, and then if you want to test that, then you test it on the test data, which is calculated or gathered separately, so then you could have a good prediction model. So they kept the 7 weeks for that, for the training data, and then 2 weeks for the test data. But it's a huge data set. There are some problems with the Kdd data set. Is first of all, is outdated. As you can see, it's 1999, and there are so many different malwares, different viruses, different things came up. The attacks has changed the nature. And the other thing is it has got redundant data. And as James was mentioning it, you need to be careful about the data that you're working with. There have been at least 4 or 5 papers published, mainly by McHugh in 2000, criticizing the data that we can't use it, but still until now, the researchers who are designing IDS system, intrusion detection system, still they're using it. They still sample from this data set and then using in order to evaluate the IDSs. Right, okay, what I did was, this is if you go to that link, it will give you the whole data set, so this is the only one it was available. What I did was, I worked on the corrected data set, because the corrected data set has got the labels. So once you've got the label, so the label is the attack type. So you've got a record, and then at the end it says whether this record is attacked or is not. And it's got so many features. It has got 41 features, so they have calculated all these. And then imagine you've got a matrix of 42 by 4 million and 4 million and something, like 409,000 something. So this is massive, and you can see how difficult it is when you want to work on this data set. Right, okay. I forgot to mention about the data set. The data set has got 24 attack types, and the test data has got 14 more attack types. So it's going to be like about 5 attacks in the test data, so extra. So they peppered this traffic data with the more attacks. There are 4 types of attacks within this data set. So you've got DOS attacks, you've got probing, and then remote access, and then root access. When you look at the structure of the data set, Kdd data set, the DOS attacks and probing attacks are more, so it's not proportional. This is this is another problem with this Kdd data set. I looked at the literature, and many researchers have been looking at the feature selection in order to find out which features are significant, and then use that instead of having 41 features, like 41 columns, that you don't want that, it's just so much. But most of them didn't mention exactly what feature they included in their data set in the calculations. Only I found 5 papers that they included this. And then what I did was I went through these features, and I looked at which features have been frequently mentioned. So when you look at these 5 papers, you come across these features. So is the service feature, the column, is the source byte size, or is the destination byte size, or destination host rate size? I am looking at this data set from somebody who doesn't know anything about intrusion detection. So just imagine you don't know anything about these features, so just you looking at them. So these 4 features been mentioned more than the other ones. So I thought, okay, we could propose this and then check with Kdd data set and see what the Kdd data set using machine learning techniques would tell us. This is the structure of the data set. As you can see, there's so many numbers and 0, 1s, and it's just hard to find out the relationship between these features. Okay. So basically, what we did was we thought, okay, we're going to use Weka, just a normal open source data mining software that machine learning software that you use. You could use R, you could use Weka, you could use even Python. But Weka is a GUI version, so it's interesting, it's easy. So even if you don't have any background in statistics, anything, you could just start working with that. And if you go online, then there's so many video clips teaching you how to do it, so it's not difficult to run this. So what I thought was, what we could do is we could run this data set and find out what the machine learning or Weka is suggesting us what features are important, and then we compare them. We use 2 types of ranking methods, and then we came across 4 more features. So it's a trade-off here, actually. You could have like 4 features, you could have 10 features, so it depends on how significant you want to be. For example, if you are adding 2 more features, or the accuracy is just going to go like 0.01 above, then it might not worth adding those features because you are increasing your dimension. So you need to be aware of that. So this is the features number 3, 5, 6, 39 being suggested. I think my slide's been a bit soft, but anyway. So this is Weka, and then, as I said, it's a GUI version, and then you could easily use it. And you could even develop your own algorithm and add it as a Java language. This is an output of Weka, and as you can see here, it gives you, once you run a classifier, it gives you the correctly classified instances, and then it gives you some statistics where you could find out whether the model that you fit is good or not. For example, the kappa statistics is like a goodness of fit. So if you get a value near 1, then it will be is good. I went through, I use Kdd Data Set. I went through different machine learning algorithms, and the best one that fit, it was random forest. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna just stick with this. It doesn't matter what algorithm I'm using. As long as I've got this, then I will try those features and find out which subset of features are more significant. Then then I proposed 2 subsets. One is 3, 5, 6, 39, and the other one, it was like adding 6 more, so it became 10. So this is, as I mentioned, is to do with the trade-off. These are being suggested by Weka. Basically, when we did sampling and when we graphed the results, as you can see, is the one that uses the subset of 4 subset of features actually is better than the one that uses 10 for a small sample. So the result of subset of 4 is better for us. Right. Then in 2009, another researcher came and used Kdd Data Set and improved it and created NSL KDD. This data set has got more advantages. Doesn't have any redundant data. It doesn't have duplicated record in the testing data set. So nowadays, so many researchers are using this data set. The only difference between this and KDD from attack types point of view is that in this data set, in NSL Kdd data set, the attack types is just either normal or anomaly. So either is attack or is not. The type of the attack hasn't been mentioned. So the subset of features that I propose is used on NSL KDD, and it validated my results. So it gives me high detection rate, and it gives me minimum false positive. These are the conclusion. I won't read it, but what I did was, a few years ago, I used the students, and I asked the students to come up with different samples of KDD, and then they tried to find their own features, and the features that they found confirmed the result of this work. In 2015, another data set was created, was published for researcher, which is called UNSWNB15. It's similar to KDD, but it's a bit smaller. And the only problem is the features are completely different. So it's difficult to compare KDD with this data set. However, there are some common features within that. So we checked that, we came up with some proposal for some features, and that is going to be published next month. Actually, it's going to be presented here in Edinburgh. I hope I haven't bored you. Thank you very much.